Brother David?
Yes, and also something on what Aziz says, in the early days of homeschooling of our children, and my children, I remember when they must have been at 8 or 9, and I introduced them to Monopoly, playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
And we grew up with Monopoly. I had 2 older brothers who loved beating me and manoeuvring in Monopoly. So now I'm introducing Monopoly to them, and I'm playing Monopoly with them, and I'm winning certain money. I'm getting certain money, and I'm happy. And I know my children are happy that I was earning money. And I'm like, you don't get the game. But then I start thinking, no, that's my crooked kind of mind. They don't see it that way. They just thought, okay, you were earning, well done. And I was thrown like, oh. So that made me look at my thinking. Like, I've got to reevaluate how I think. Because what I thought was normal, just you take for yourself, you win the game. Yeah. The children weren't thinking that way. They were clapping that I'm like,
It's different. It's a different mindset. And I like the point that you made in terms of sometimes when it comes to money, having it stagnant. Because I think a lot of the time when we in our community, it's more safety first. So it's get that my safety, survival, stability. Yeah. That's the game that everyone's playing. And so sometimes like people will discourage you from getting involved in business because they'll say, no, you need to do your job, do your 30, 40 years, get your pension. And so sometimes we can discourage entrepreneurship because it's that belief that everything is based on security rather than looking at the opportunities. I mean, you've talked to us about it, you've shared it on multiple occasions, but there's so much that we can be doing with our money. There's so much we could be investing our money in rather than getting little or no. Sometimes these rates, people have got 100k sitting in the bank and then barely getting anything off it.
I think what Brother Aziz said is key. In terms of environment and education, because I've got 2 children. The bigger one's gone through the school system, he's 16. But we've got one that's 2, and he certainly is being homeschooled because of the experiences that we've had. And like yourself, we want him to grow up with a certain mindset. And in our opinion, it's not possible within the state school system. And really, the children soak up the environment of the parents. So what I do day in, day out is teaching people about money, how money works, how to get it working for them, and also how to protect that money. So it's really about an educational philosophy. And when you've got a financial goal that you're working towards, coupled with the right mindset, coupled with the financial education, that's where you're going to become successful.
Just to touch, because I know a lot of the great works you do, actually involve a lot of systems. And systems is quite a key thing. Goes back to the exposure of what you're actually exposed to. But what you will find is people that actually have money, they have systems in place of how they manage their money. And so it is, simply distributed. So they're aware of what they can spend. They have fun, but they're aware there's a certain percentage of that allocated to fun. There's a certain percentage of it, allocated to education, allocated to charity, allocated to just paying certain things. But the fact that they have those systems in place is always going to enable them to grow and generate their wealth. And I think that education is missing. But, rather than complaining about it, it's really about collectively coming together. If you're not doing it in your own household, affiliate people that are, so you can give that exposure to things and just create that awareness, because inevitably that is quite the key thing. The systems are key. That's what I was
do you know what that's making me think? Actually leads into one of the questions that we got here in terms of what are the core skills or traits of successful money management. Like what are the skills that we need to be developing in order to actually do better with our money? How do you all see that?
I think for me it's what's your goal, what's your plan, where are you going first and foremost. I never speak to anyone about money first. I want to find out about them, where they are and where they want to go. Because if you don't have a clear vision, there is no motivation for you to put the systems in place, for example. So it's always starting there and really looking at what can you do from where you are now. So what systems can you put in place today, and how can you make them as hands-free as possible? Because let's face it, we all lead busy lives. The minute it has to rely on you and you go in to actively do something, that's when it all starts to kind of crumble. And you've got to have a plan. And for me, accountability is huge. I am daily accountable to my mentors in lots of different areas. I've got friends and colleagues that I check in with. So for me, those would be the kind of top key things to kind of get you started.
That makes a lot of sense. I think working from home sometimes, it's just the hardest thing, because if you to keep that motivation going, and I guess with the systems and the saving and whatever, it's the same. Like you have to get your head there, and sometimes you just didn't fancy it. Right, well, we have actually been joined by Victoria Walker, Lady Victoria Walker, who has joined us. Thank you for coming. Unfortunately, we've had a microphone malfunction, so this means I am one mic down. I'm going to fire my engineer because I did tell him to make sure we had a mic for you. So if you can share Brother Aziz's mic for us, we can make this work. Yeah. Welcome to Talk Black Radio, Victoria Walker. How are you today, dear?
Thank you. I'm great. Thank you very much.
Good. We are discussing money, our relationship with money. We are discussing how we can develop a healthier relationship with money and what sort of ways we can do this. What would you like to add to our conversation today?
Well, as you probably know, my experience was in private banking. So I worked with individuals who would have at least £10 million or more in liquidity and in assets. So I learned a lot about the attitudes that the wealthy hold towards preserving wealth as well as wealth creation. And I think our challenges is that we have very little understanding of how the banking system works, the monetary system, and the legal system which upholds the banking system. So we have, a lot of our parents that came here, particularly in England, or our grandparents, came with no real knowledge of the actual mechanics. And I think because we've not been taught the mechanics, whereas there's some families that do teach their children and their families, how to manage money, how to create wealth, because we haven't had that. I think there's a massive lack in our community around financial literacy and also around economics. So it's so vital for us to be able to create businesses and create trade amongst our communities. And because we haven't really got that, and even if we do have the understanding, for whatever reason, we've not been able to implement that successfully. Hence why we are in the situation I say we're in right now.
The thing one of the questions we've got here is just the consequences of us not coming together and trading. Do you think could you enlighten what you would say because if you work with people of high net worth, you can see the benefits. So what are the consequences of us not coming together and trading? And what are the consequences of us not developing an economy for ourselves?
Well, if you look at the term economy, it is where the production and consumption of goods are within a particular region or nation or country. I think the black community, we give so much back to this economy. I mean, we pump in about £300 billion a year into the economy. So think about if that went into the black nation or the black economy, what we could actually do. The interesting thing about money, especially in the investment world, is the magic formula of compounding. So if we understood more about compounding and investing rather than consumerism and consuming, we could have a better situation. So in terms of the whole buying from each other and trade is the cornerstone of every strong community. If you look at how the Jewish people work, I mean, they don't, their money stays within their community, and the reason why.
You've got insane numbers for the turnaround, haven't they? They keep
exactly.
that money in there.
I mean, for the black pound bit stays in the black community for about 10 minutes.
Oh wow! Yeah,
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it goes around once.
And that's as long as it takes you to walk to the next store to spend.
Exactly, because everything we're spending, whether it's we're going to H&M or Foot Locker or Louis Vuitton, all these brands which are owned by the 1%. So you've got to understand in wealth management, when you have your traders or your wealth managers, they will trade in the open market or the stock market. So all these shares, when you do when a company goes public, who's investing into it? The family offices, the wealthy people who own these businesses and make profit.
Yes.
So we've got into this habit of, when we get the little money we get, we think, oh, we want to look nice. We want all the values that they've taught us to, sort of take on board, which is, the vanity, how we look. It's all been produced and created to keep our money keep going back into this economy rather than our own.
Trev, can I bring you in? You spoke about just the advent of consumerism and how that was sort of put on the community even through slavery. Have you got that research?
Oh yeah. It was Yeah. Well, basically, it was about how consumerism started in the United States after slavery, and basically in the Jim Crow era, in terms of how the laws and the culture of Jim Crow laws made black people afraid of money, of holding on to money, because they would put money into banks and then the money would be taken from them sometimes, and they had no legal recourse in court. And so it got to the point where they said that black people got to a point where it was safer when you got your money to go out and spend it and start buying things, because those were things you could hold, whereas with the money you couldn't leave it in a bank. There was nothing really to do with it other than to buy things. And it's like, it's just that mindset, even as we've come out of the Jim Crow era now, that mindset has actually kind of become the norm. And at the same time, it's a case of whenever we did try to do something for ourselves, it was kind of shut down. So they talked about how in certain states, having 1/8 black blood was enough to void contracts in certain states at the time, just being 1/8 black. So it's just how the point of this research or this article I was reading, it was just to highlight the fact that behavior was created. Because before, at a point when we came out of slavery, we were actually extremely productive, because we saw the need to do. We wanted to get far away from where we'd been, and we were actually trying to build. You look at Black Wall Street and the fact that was destroyed. Us coming together and building was seen as a threat.
And remember, that's a town just of us building business and trading together. And as you said, that's the cornerstone of whatever. So if we don't get back to that, we're going to be in trouble. I watched a video of you explaining cryptocurrency. Help me with that, cryptocurrency, and there was another term you used which was like the systems behind
Blockchain.
Blockchains, there you go. And can you explain something about cryptocurrency? Let us understand what it is and how we could feasibly use it with trading.